It was well past midnight when I started walking home from my friend's apartment. The streets were quiet in that uncomfortable way they get after everything is shut down for the night. No cars, no voices, just the occasional hum of distant traffic and the sound of my own footsteps echoing off the pavement. At first, everything felt normal. I had walked this route dozens of times before without any issues. I was tired, distracted, and more focused on getting home than anything else. That was when I heard it. Footsteps. They were faint at first, barely noticeable, but they didn't sound like mine. The rhythm was slightly off. I slowed my pace, telling myself it was probably someone else walking behind me. The footsteps slowed too. I stopped completely. So did they. My stomach tightened. I stood still for a few seconds, listening. The night felt heavier, quieter than before. Then I took another step forward. Almost immediately, the footsteps resumed. Louder, this time. Closer. I told myself not to panic. There were plenty of reasonable explanations. Another pedestrian, someone heading in the same direction. But every time I adjusted my speed, the footsteps adjusted with me. It felt deliberate, like whoever was behind me was aware of my every move. I turned down a side street, hoping to lose them. The streetlight flickered as I passed underneath it. For a moment, the footsteps stopped. Relief washed over me. Then they started again. This time, they were unmistakably closer. I could hear the weight of each step, the scrape of a shoe against concrete. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I didn't dare turn around. I picked up my pace, pretending I was calm, but the sound behind me grew faster too. No hesitation now, no attempt to hide it. Whoever it was wanted me to know they were there. I broke into a run. The footsteps did the same. By the time I reached my apartment building, my lungs were burning. I fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking so badly I dropped them once. The footsteps stopped just a few feet behind me. I could feel someone there, standing, waiting. I slammed the door shut and locked it behind me, my entire body trembling. When I finally dared to look outside through the glass, the street was empty. No one was there. But I know what I heard, and even now, whenever I walk alone at night, I swear I can still hear footsteps matching mine. It was one of those late nights when the world feels asleep and you're the only one awake. I was driving home from my friend's house, the road stretching out like a dark, empty ribbon under the faint glow of the streetlights. The silence in the car was thick, only broken by the low hum of the engine and the classic rock station playing softly on the radio. My neighborhood is usually quiet, almost eerily so after midnight. As I pulled into my driveway, a wave of relief washed over me. Home, sweet home. I killed the engine, and the sudden quiet was almost deafening. I grabbed my bag from the passenger seat and was about to get out when a flicker of movement in my rearview mirror caught my eye. I froze. My heart started to beat a little faster. It was probably just a cat or a raccoon, I told myself. This neighborhood is full of them. But a knot of unease tightened in my stomach. I slowly lifted my head and looked into the mirror again. Nothing. Nothing. Just the dark. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. My imagination was just running wild. It was late. I was tired. That was all. I opened the car door, the interior light casting a small pool of light onto the pavement. As I stepped out, a strange feeling crept over me. That prickly sensation on the back of your neck when you feel like you're being watched. I shook it off, locked the car, and the chirp of the alarm seemed unusually loud in the stillness of the night. I turned towards my front door, fumbling for my keys in my pocket. That's when I heard it. A soft, almost inaudible scrape, like a shoe dragging on asphalt. My blood ran cold. I whipped around, my eyes scanning the darkness behind my car, and there he was. A tall, slender figure, standing perfectly still right behind my vehicle. He was just outside the reach of the streetlight, cloaked in shadows, but I could make out his silhouette. He wasn't moving, just standing there, watching me. A scream was caught in my throat. My mind raced. Who was he? What did he want? My hands trembled as I finally found my keys. The metallic jingle sounded like a gunshot in the silence. I didn't take my eyes off him. I slowly started backing towards my front door, my heart pounding against my ribs like a drum. The figure remained motionless. It was the stillness that was so terrifying. It felt unnatural, predatory, like a hunter waiting for the perfect moment to strike. My fingers finally closed around the right key. I jammed it into the lock, my hand shaking so badly it took 2 tries to get it in. The click of the lock turning was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. I threw the door open and scrambled inside, not daring to look back. I slammed the door shut, locking the deadbolt and flipping every lock I had. My back was pressed against the wood as I gasped for air, my whole body shaking. I waited, listening. Silence. Was he still out there? Was he going to try the door? My house, once a place of comfort, now felt like a fragile box. After what felt like an eternity, I crept to the front window, peering through a tiny gap in the blinds. The street was empty. Was gone, as if he had vanished into thin air. I stayed up all night, jumping at every creak and groan of the house. I called the police, but they found nothing. No footprints, no signs of anyone. They were polite, but skeptical, suggesting it might have been a trick of the light, my tired mind playing games. Maybe they were right. But I know what I saw. That silent figure standing in the dark. To this day, whenever I get home late, I don't look in my rearview mirror. I just run, because sometimes it's better not to know what's behind you. Thanks for listening, and please stay safe out there.
It was just another Tuesday morning, or so I thought. The alarm went off at its usual ungodly hour, 6:30 a.m. I groaned, rolled over, and fumbled to shut it off. Sunlight was just starting to peek through the blinds, casting long shadows across my bedroom. Everything felt normal. I got up, stretched, and shuffled towards the kitchen for my morning coffee, still half asleep. That's when I saw it. The front door was ajar, just a crack, maybe an inch wide, but enough to send a jolt of pure adrenaline through me, waking me up faster than any caffeine ever could. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I live alone. I distinctly remember locking the door the night before. It's a ritual for me. Check the lock, check the deadbolt. Twice. I always do it. I stood there, frozen in the hallway, my mind racing through a million terrifying possibilities. Did someone break in? Were they still here? My apartment is small, just a one-bedroom. There aren't many places to hide. My breath hitched in my throat as I strained my ears, listening for any sound, any sign of another person. But there was only silence. The kind of heavy, oppressive silence that feels louder than any noise. Slowly, cautiously, I crept forward. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, which happened to be a clunky metal water bottle from my coffee table. It wasn't much, but it was something. Holding it like a club, I nudged the door fully open with my foot. The hallway outside was empty. I peeked into the living room, then the kitchen. Nothing seemed out of place. My laptop was still on the desk. My wallet was on the counter where I'd left it. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was broken. It was just the unlocked door. This was almost worse than finding something missing. The not knowing was eating me alive. If it wasn't a burglar, then what? Did I sleepwalk? I've never done that in my life. Did the lock malfunction? It's an old building. I guess it's possible. But the deadbolt was unlocked too. Deadbolts don't just unlock themselves. I spent the rest of the morning searching every inch of my apartment, my stomach twisted in knots. I looked in closets, under the bed, even in the shower. Nothing. It was like a ghost had paid me a visit. A very polite ghost who just wanted to open my door and leave. I called my landlord, who was less than helpful. He said he'd look into it, but I could hear the skepticism in his voice. I talked to my neighbors. Mrs. Gable from across the hall said she didn't hear a thing. The young couple downstairs were just as clueless. I felt like I was going crazy. Was I losing my mind? Did I imagine locking it? No, I was certain. That evening, I triple-checked the locks. I even wedged a chair under the doorknob, just like in the movies. I barely slept, jumping at every little sound the old building made. The next morning, the door was locked, the chair untouched. It never happened again. But to this day, I still get a chill down my spine when I think about it. What happened that night? Who opened my door? I guess some questions are never meant to be answered. Have you ever experienced something so unexplainable it made you question everything? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to lock your doors.